Real quick before we jump into the video, guys, for the rest of this year I'm going to be on a fundraising campaign to raise a minimum of £1,000 for the Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. For more information on the charity and what it does, and for the donation links, please look in the description below. And thank you all for your continued support. Enjoy the show. What's going on, guys? Ribombees teacher now, so we're back with the LGL week number 10. Your Royal Bournemouth Ribombees are taking on the Chess City Cufants and Coach Baconator. This is a really interesting position because state of play for both of us in the league. We're both actually sitting at 6 wins and 3 losses going into this match. We're both pretty much locked for playoffs at this point. With a couple of games left to play, the teams that are below us can't really overtake us, so there's not really a way for either of us to reliably get knocked out. So this was honestly really a bit more of a for fun game, but nonetheless, both of us are still very, very good players, so I was excited to play him. So his team is actually very, very interesting. He's got some pretty good answers for some pretty big threats on my team. So he's got Onyx, of course, as his tier 1. Very, very staple little cut mon. It's been around for such a long time. Rock Setter, of course. Rock Blast, breaking focus sashes. High horsepower, potentially, to deal with the grassy terrain stuff. And then, of course, Explosion and stuff like that. I believe that's what it typically runs. I'm not entirely sure. I have seen a lot of Explosion Onyxes in Little Cup Ladder lately, so assuming that's standard. Farfetch'd Galarian, of course, actually a very, very strong fighting type in this format. Does get scrappy, of course, but that doesn't really apply to me because I don't have a ghost type. And so, not a huge deal there. Very good Scarf option. Allows it to outspeed things like the Wingull unless I'm Scarfed. Definitely a very scary Pokemon, but if it gets burned, it's kind of crippled. But those close combats from this thing hit incredibly hard. It's very, very scary. Cufant, of course, a mon I'm very familiar with. I've used it in a few Little Cup leagues before. Really love this mon. Definitely a very, very solid mon. It is very slow, but it's got great natural bulk, especially when you're holding an Eviler. But it does get Sheer Force as well, so Life Orb Sheer Force is always scary. Definitely something to bear in mind. Gets a lot of coverage moves that hits the majority of my team. Tentacle, of course, very solid spinner, also a grounded poison type, which does mitigate Venipede's use a little bit, but still very, very solid nonetheless. Does hit pretty hard on the special side as well, with things like Sludge Wave and Scald. Gossifleur on his team, he doesn't bring it, of course, but actually a very good bulky grass with a good rapid spinner on it. Actually has, I believe it still has Cotton Down as well, which is actually a really fun ability. I've been testing it a little bit on a rather unusual Little Cup team. But Cotton Down is actually nice because it actually allows you to slow your opponents down if they make contact with you. It's definitely a pretty interesting ability. Does also get Regenerator as well, so that's something to bear in mind. It has Rhyhorn, of course, but much inferior to Onyx. It's bulkier but slower. It does pretty much the same thing. Bonsly, which I didn't actually think was ever going to come to this match, but doesn't really do that much other than Explode from what I understand. It does get a couple of coverage moves, but nothing particularly to write home about. But as you can see on the screen, he does actually bring it. Swablu, pretty weakish Pokemon, but does get Defog. Not the worst. Mana, again, kind of weak, but does get Trick Room, so could work with Cufant. I have run Trick Room Cufant quite a few times in the past. Ponyta, of course, very scary mon. It's one of the only things in the format that speed ties with Wingull. Does get Flame Charge, of course, does get Wild Charge and stuff like that. Flare Blitz hits incredibly hard. Definitely a very scary mon. Does get Morning Sun for recovery as well. Frillish, pretty bulky wee Water Ghost. Actually a very solid mon in general. Gets access to Strength Sap. I think it gets Curse Body too. And then last but not least, he has Cosmog, which is completely useless, so basically not really even a team member. So that's his team. We'll talk about what I brought, and then we'll go through the game. We brought pretty standard SD Grookey, especially bulky with max attack as well. SD, Grassy Glide, Acrobatics, and Knockoff. With hindsight, probably should have run Drain Punch instead of Knockoff, but that's aside from the point. We had a Curse Unaware Wooper with Waterfall, Earthquake, Recover. Pretty bulky set, as most of his team, particularly offensively, is physical. It definitely lends itself kind of nice to Wooper in a way. We had a fully specially bulky support Torchic. This actually was Protect, Defog, Will-O-Wisp, and Flamethrower, with the idea of trying to keep rocks off the field, as he does have multiple rock setters and stuff like that, as well as cripples things like the Farfetch'd and the Cufant. We had a Life Orb Wingull with Scald, Hurricane, Ice Beam, and Roost. We had a Calm Mind Hatena which was physically bulky instead of specially bulky like I normally run. And with Giga Drain, Mystical Fire, and Psychic. And then we had our typical Sash lead, Venipede, which, hindsight being 2020, probably shouldn't have brought Venipede. I feel like Gible actually had a better matchup here. But I brought Venipede anyway, just in case the Tentacle didn't come and he brought Frillish instead. Which I actually thought Frillish had a fairly solid matchup against my team. I was kind of surprised not to see it. But you can see what he brings: the Farfetch'd, the Cufant, the Onyx, the Ponyta, the Tentacle, and the Barnsly. Pretty aggressive team. Definitely a very, very aggressive team. So let's take you through the game, and we'll take you through what happened. So, alright, so he leads with the Onyx, as I'm not too surprised, as we do lead our Venipede. He actually gets up Rocks turn 1, which I kind of expected him just to straight out go for a Rock Blast. So I go for Protect this time to scout for it, as we do see it, which is actually kind of nice for me. So I do actually switch into Wooper. Now, basically my play here is I can switch in Wooper on the Rock Blast and Curse on it. That was basically the plan. But as you can see, he actually goes for high horsepower and crits me, which this does matter, because it now means that I can't stay in anymore. Or if I do stay in, I sack the Wooper. Which is a little unfortunate, but I don't think in the context this matters, because looking at this calc, this is a very, very offensive Onyx. So I'm not too surprised. It does way too much damage at this point anyway. So at this point, I let it go to the Explosion, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't see that coming originally. But you can see he's Boots on well, he's not Boots on Tentacle. I thought he was originally, but he's not. We do Protect, as we do see the Sludge Wave. Now, we are specially bulky support Venipede, so I do go for Spikes just to see what happens, as he does actually end up spinning them away. But that's fine, because it means I can just start setting up again. And, of course, we are faster. So I do go for the Endeavor to chip away at the Tentacle. This puts it in Grassy Glide range. And then, unfortunately, this Rapid Spin crits and kills me. Which definitely did matter. A non-crit could never kill my Venipede in this position. So that was definitely unfortunate. But it does give room for Grookey to come in and just click Grassy Glide and knock out the Tentacle. So not great, for sure. We lose 2 Pokemon for the prize of 1. Or 2, essentially, as Onyx is also gone. As I predicted the Explosion on this, but Hatenna was kind of the least useful Pokemon on our team. So Hatenna is gone. And now he brings out the Farfetch'd. I go for Protect here, just because I wanted to scout his move, as we do see the close combat. So now our +1 speed, we do actually outspeed this Farfetch'd and get the Will-O-Wisp off, which means that we live this close combat, which is not too bad at all. But even despite this, of course, this was a very interesting play. This was probably where I lost the game, in my opinion. If I had gone for another Will-O-Wisp there, predicting the switch, then this probably would have been the best play of the game. But to be fair, honestly, I expected him more likely to go Ponyta than the Cufant, so I went for Protect, seeing if he would try to close combat kill me. But he actually ends up switching into the Cufant, which was a good play. And then I misplayed here as well. This was probably where the game went a little south for me. Because in my head, I was thinking he's probably a Violite. I did take a bit of time on this. I debated going for Flamethrower. Hindsight, probably should have gone for Flamethrower or Will-O-Wisp here. I didn't, so as you can see. But I got rid of the Rocks, and the Iron Head does unfortunately kill because this is a Life Orb Sheer Force set. And this is where having Drain Punch would have been nice, because it I don't know, it probably wouldn't have killed, and then his Iron Head high rolls me. Now, I did actually check the calc on this. This is a high roll without the Life Orb, because I did have some physical bulk on this set. Didn't have the hugest amount of physical bulk, but I did have some physical bulk on here, which would have lived this set. So, a little unfortunate, but either way, my win con was win goal guaranteed anyway. So, we get the Scald, which definitely kills, because we saw he was Life Orb. And this is where I got caught out. Because, as you can see, he does go for knockoff here, which does show that this was a Scarfed Farfetch'd, because Farfetch'd cannot outspeed Wingull otherwise. Which caught me a little unawares, I'm not gonna lie. Partly because my +1 Torchic outsped it, so I was a little like, And then I realized this was Adamant Scarf, so definitely unfortunate, but the Hurricane does pick up the kill. Now, obviously, this means that the Scald with the Life Orb would have killed this Ponyta, but unfortunately without it, it doesn't. Which means Wingull goes down, the Ponyta lived the recall, and Baconator goes ahead and wins the game 1-0. But this was a really, really fun game. I definitely think I misplayed my endgame. I think going forward through this, hindsight, Probably shouldn't have brought Venipede. Probably should have considered Gibble instead. I didn't. Other things that could have come. I mean, Munchlax wouldn't have been the best either because there was too many physical mons. Maybe I could have brought like Helioptile or Impidimp in this one. Little tough to decide. Impidimp's kind of an awkward matchup for a lot of teams, but I didn't really feel like it was good. But yeah, hindsight, Venipede probably wasn't my best lead. Probably should have brought Gibble instead. And then, obviously, I misplayed around the Cufant, which is what lost me the game in the long run. But either way, good game, Baconator. That was a fun one to play. Definitely an explosive game. Pun definitely intended. But yeah. Next week, we play Chicken, I believe. Just gonna check. We do play Chicken next, and Chicken is one of the strongest players in the league, so we've got to work it out for us if we want to win this one. But nonetheless, it's going to be a fun one either way, so I hope you guys look forward to that. But either way, thank you so much for watching. My name is Ribombees Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bournemouth Ribombees. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.